What's up, everybody? It's time to talk some trade, and it's Worryometer Wednesday. Why is everybody so worried all the time? It's going to be okay. Adam Azer with Jamie Eisenberg and Heath Cummings on Fantasy Football Today, presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. And it's time for some darts and crafts. What do you think? How was that one?
Darts and crafts.
Oh, I didn't even think about the Tucker Craft angle. You had both of them? That's amazing. That's the best one yet.
No, the one I said to you yesterday was the best one yet.
What was it?
Ew, you darted.
You darted, yeah. Very mature of you. Jackson Dart is the starting quarterback for the Giants. We're going to talk about that. We got up.
Look how happy you are.
I'm not. You know what I was thinking? People are probably going, well, it can't get any worse, right? From Malik Neighbors. Oh, really? Are we clamoring for Kirk Cousins to return for Atlanta?
Yeah.
Right? Has Cam Ward been any better than Mason Rudolph was last year for Calvin Ridley? He's been much worse. Ridley's had a hand in that too. JJ McCarthy, are we hoping that Carson Wentz keeps the job? It can get worse. But yeah.
I mean, Dart probably wouldn't have thrown for 450 yards against the Cowboys.
Yeah, correct.
And he might have been better than Wilson was against the Chiefs, maybe.
And Wilson was horrible against the Commanders in week one. But we just don't know. There's a lot of unknown. All right, so we're also going to give you buy lows, sell highs. We do have the Worryometer. We're previewing Thursday Night Football, which is Seattle and Arizona. And we are grading some trades at the end of the show. Oh, we're going to try to redraft round one. See if we have time for that. So, you know what? Let's dive into it here. So the news and notes, Jackson Dart's going to start. 4 of his next 6 opponents are undefeated. He has the Chargers, Saints, Eagles, Broncos, Eagles, Niners. That's up next for Jackson Dart. Also, Tyrone Tracy was injured. His timeline is he's expected to miss 2 to 4 weeks. Mike Evans is going to miss 3 to 4 weeks. But let's start with the Dart news. And are you, Jamie? I read your article on the website, and you're hopeful, you're optimistic for Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson.
I would hope that he understands the assignment, which is to get those guys the ball as much as he possibly can, because you look at the receiving core, clearly those are the top 2 target getters, and that should continue. I think in the case of Malik Neighbors, look, he had 2 very good games with Russell Wilson, one amazing game against the Cowboys, and a terrible game. It's just the hope is this is, and obviously Heath could speak on this more than I can. The hope is like these guys are good together because they're going to be tied together for at least the next 3 seasons. So
I wouldn't be so sure about that.
Well, I mean,
look, that's the hope, right? But if he's bad, they're drafting a quarterback.
I guess they're not drafting a quarterback in 2026. So,
I think they might.
In 2026, yeah, absolutely. If he's
another first round picking a quarterback, what are they, Cardinals?
That's what you do. I mean, that's what the Cardinals did. That's if you stink, then you do it.
I guess if you have the number 1 overall pick after drafting a guy in the first round, then
they will.
It's not like this class has been great so far in the first month of college football. So, look, I hope he's good. I hope he can connect with Malik Neighbors. He's going to get peppered with targets. We said this before the season started that when they made the quarterback switch, would it be any worse than what Neighbors dealt with last year? I don't think that's the case with Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito and Daniel Jones at the start of the season. So I think Dart will be good enough. I think Wan'Dale Robinson, he's been through multiple quarterbacks in Brian Daboll's system. He gets targeted all the time, so that should continue. Cam Scatterby was coming off an amazing game against the Chiefs. Hopefully his targets stay up. That was great to see. 8 targets, 6 catches. And the nice thing about Dart is he's going to run, so he'll use his legs, and hopefully that'll help his fantasy production. So if the offense just moves a little better and they get more scoring chances, that'll benefit everybody.
What I'm really curious about is, I don't know if we have any reason to have any guess on this, is what does the offensive game plan look like in terms of like that Dallas game and the Chiefs game? It seems like they just decided, you know what, Russ, the only thing he's doing well is throwing the moon ball. So we're just going to send everybody 40 yards downfield, and he'll either throw it to them or he'll dump it off to Theo or Cam Scatterby. And I wonder, like, are we going to get a few short area targets for Dart, or is he still trying to run that? I wouldn't think he'd be running that type of offense. I downgraded Wan'Dale and Neighbors for this week. versed on where I had them, but it's kind of a mystery box.
Yeah, we don't know what his tendencies are going to be for sure.
If he looks good this week based on the matchup against the Saints in Week 5, you'll be excited.
Yeah, right. But then it's the Eagles after that twice, basically. So the good news is the Giants might have two good tackles. Their right tackle, Jermaine Illuminor, is playing great. I'm thinking going to play about half the game, Andrew Thomas last week. So it's not like the Daniel Jones situation where he's got these horrible offensive linemen. I don't think that can be an excuse anymore for the Giants. So we'll see what happens. So Mike Evans, 3 to 4 weeks is the timeline right now for him. So you know what to do. You're going to start Ibuka, and we're going to see what Godwin's status is. Last year, this was Baker Mayfield without both Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. He averaged only 6.6 yards per attempt. I went with 4 games. I included the game where they both got hurt, compared to 8.2 yards per attempt in the other 13.
Well, Godwin played a good portion of that game, though.
Yeah, it's not an apples to apples comparison because you do have Ibuka this year. Terry McLaurin may not play this week at Atlanta. You've got he's got to seek another opinion on his quad injury. So we're going to hopefully get a timeline on that. But Terry McLaurin could be out this week. Nate Taylor of ESPN says the Chiefs are optimistic that Xavier Worthy can play a limited role this week. Apparently he'd have a harness on his shoulder. I don't love that. I'm not going to ask you now because we'll find out more later where you're going to be ranking Xavier Worthy. Tennessee head coach Brian Callahan is no longer calling plays. He's giving that to the quarterbacks coach, Bo Hardigree, who does have some play calling experience. Zach Charbonnet, we look at the Thursday night game. Zach Charbonnet once again listed as a full participant, and 3 Seattle defensive backs who have been missing time, they were listed as limited and hoping they can get back for this Thursday game at Arizona. Meanwhile, Arizona cornerback Will Johnson missed practice. The Texans released C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He's just going to sign with the Eagles and be amazing for them, right? I mean,
I think I saw that he can't.
Oh, really?
I think the rule is if you trade somebody, they have to play at least 4 games with the team you traded them to, or you can't re-sign them. Just to prevent like some shenanigans.
I like that. Yeah, maybe we should have a fantasy rule like that. I like that. What else we got? Tampa Bay is signing defense. So Tampa Bay is signing this defensive tackle, Desmond Watson from the Gators. He didn't just come from the Gators, but he's the biggest player in football, I believe. Yep. And I wonder if they're going to try to throw him in there against the tush push. Would be interesting. They're playing the Eagles this week. Pittsburgh getting a little healthier. They've got Minnesota in Ireland this week. Joey Porter Jr. and Deshaun Elliott could play this week, 2 members of their secondary, but linebacker Alex Highsmith, pass rusher, he's already been ruled out. The Jets, they're struggling at cornerback. They just acquired a starting cornerback from the Titans, Jarvis Brownlee Jr. So he started pretty much all of last year, played just about every snap in the first 2 games this year, missed week 3, and now he's on the Jets. They're at Miami this week. All right, let's get some buy lows and some sell highs. Jamie, you are saying buy low on Patrick Mahomes, who Heath and I were talking before the show. He leads the NFL in off-target rate. Pretty crazy. But I like some of the trends. I'm sure you like the same stuff. What do you see from Mahomes saying buy low?
I don't think he'll run as much when everybody's healthy, but that's the hope, is that when everybody's healthy, we start to see the best of Patrick Mahomes. And we talked about this earlier this week. He's throwing the ball downfield a little bit more. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come when Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy are healthy. But, at some point, we talked about this prior to last year. Wow, they drafted Xavier Worthy in the first round and they signed Marquise Brown and they have this receiving core. It's going to be fantastic. And then Brown gets hurt in training camp and Rice gets hurt in week 3 and it all fell apart. And now we come into this year and Rice is suspended for 6 games and Worthy's hurt. But when everybody's there, if everybody's there, with the way Tyquan Thornton looks and hopefully, Kelsey's still able to make some plays, like this could be fantastic for him. And so I don't know how many people are selling him at this point. So to even call him a buy low after 2 of 3 solid fantasy performances, but he is coming off a down game. You don't have Rice for another 3 weeks. You don't have Worthy potentially for this week. Like you might be able to make some sort of package offer because it's never really easy to just go quarterback for quarterback in most fantasy trades. But in some sort of package, if you can get Patrick Mahomes thrown in, I would try and do so.
He's throwing deep. His deep ball percentage is way up. And that's a good thing that he has the last 2 years really not stunk, but barely tried deep balls. So maybe if it's not a buy low, it's a don't panic, or the best is yet to come for Patrick Mahomes. And CeeDee Lamb, you're saying. Now, Heath says I made him a garbage trade offer for CeeDee Lamb because CeeDee Lamb, he's got an 0-3 team. He put Lamb on the block. I offered him Quentin Johnston. Now, what did you used the naughty word, Heath, before the show, but why is that such a bad trade? I'm giving you a superstar emerging third-year receiver for this washed-up guy with this high ankle sprain.
All I said was that Jamie, who's in the same league, and I think 2-1 in that league, needs to make me a better offer because nobody in the league is going to like it if you turn Quentin Johnston into CeeDee Lamb in the second half of the year. When we get to the sell highs, I will. I'll talk about Quentin Johnston more because he is one of my sell highs.
Well, what would you expect for CeeDee Lamb if you're looking to trade him?
I would expect someone that I feel confident is going to be a top 24 wide receiver rest of season, and I currently view Quentin Johnston as more of a number 3.
Would you take Romo Dunze for CeeDee Lamb straight up?
I would.
Would you take Courtland Sutton for CeeDee Lamb straight up?
I mean, if my 2 offers were Courtland Sutton and Quentin Johnston, I would.
Would you take
Ashton Genty? Because I might do that.
In a vacuum, probably. On that team, probably not, because I think my running back's the only position that might be good in that league.
I know someone that I have on my team that you would absolutely take straight up. Harold Fannin Jr. for CeeDee.
I think we're good there.
You heard it. That's a binding.
Man, speaking of that, I've been trying to make some trade offers this week, and I've just a little pet peeve is when you send somebody an offer and they say, "Oh, that's a pretty good offer. I think I might want it to be a little bit different." And then they just go silent. Like, just if there's something different that you would like to do in the trade, just send a counter offer. Don't make me just keep sending different versions of the same offer until I find the one that you'll accept.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it's trading can be tough. Trading can be tough because look, I have 3 receivers on my team that I could offer you for CeeDee Lamb. I'm not going to give you AJ Brown. I'm not going to give you Jamar Chase. My number 3 receiver is Quentin Johnston. So I don't mean to insult you. That was just the only thing I come up with. But for CeeDee Lamb as a buy low, Jamie, first of all, he's 0-3 in this league. So if you're 2-1, you probably want to hold CeeDee Lamb.
Yes, I have a league. I have a CeeDee Lamb league where I'm 2-1, and I have not sent any offers at all.
But the other thing is, how confident are we? I hope it is a mild high ankle sprain because they could be very tough to, come back to your old form from. And, so I don't have that many examples, but Saquon Barkley in 2023 had a high ankle sprain. He came back, he averaged 3.9 yards per carry in 12 games after that. Jonathan Taylor, though, 2024 had a high ankle sprain. He missed about a month, and he averaged 4.7 yards per carry after that. Obviously, those guys are running backs. But if you want to just finish your thoughts, Jamie, on CeeDee Lamb and as you see him as a buy low.
I think this is the exact scenario of the manager you're trying to get CeeDee Lamb from. Someone who is 0-3, 1-2, desperate to try and save their fantasy season. And it's not just Lamb, it's Mike Evans. It's any of these injured players that still have the upside to be great at the end of the year that you're looking to acquire. And Evans, at least you have a year example of this. He missed 3 games last year with a hamstring injury, came back, and he was awesome. So hopefully that'll be the case for him. I know he's a year older and a lot more competition for targets at this point, but it's the same scenario, So I think for Lamb, the fear would be is they continue to lose while he's out, and he delays his return until he feels like he's 1,000% ready to go. So just keep that in mind. But Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, any of these players that are not able to play right now, Terry McLaurin if he misses a week, like you can unfortunately prey upon these fantasy managers that are somewhat desperate, and they might accept Quentin Johnston for maybe not CeeDee Lamb, but maybe for Terry McLaurin or maybe for Rashee Rice at this point, especially knowing that he's not eligible for 4 more games. So be aggressive in making some offers, and you could hopefully help the other manager at least save their fantasy season.
Would you rather have Trey Benson or CeeDee Lamb rest of season?
Lamb.
I think that is almost entirely determined by my record.
Sure. Gotcha. All right. We're going to get Heath's buy lows in a moment, but it is time for football at BetMGM. And when you register with BetMGM, you're going to get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, boost tokens, and the best daily promotions in the business. Plus, when you huddle up with BetMGM at your fingertips, every pass, every catch, and every game matter more than ever. So football is back. Don't miss out on any of the hard-hitting action. Place your money line, prop, and parlay bets with BetMGM today. Remember, if you haven't signed up, you can use the bonus code FANTASY. And BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms, 21 plus only. Let's take a quick break, and Heath's going to tell us why Brian Thomas Jr. is a buy low after this on Fantasy Football Today.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Okay, Heath, you still have faith in Brian Thomas Jr.
Well, we're buying low here, and I don't want to act like the first 3 weeks are completely irrelevant. It's nerve-wracking for sure to see somebody be this bad. But on the positive side, and you see it on the screen here, 8.3 targets per game. He's averaging more targets per game than he did last year. His yards per reception is higher than it was last year. What's happened is his catch rate has gone from 65% to 28%. 28% is so laughably low that you're not going to project anything below 50%. Now there's a chance that the vibes are so bad there that he just falls out of favor completely. But he's also still 22 years old and just had 87 catches for 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns.
Right.
I wanted to make sure that you can buy low on Brian Thomas Jr. So I sent a tweet out yesterday, said, tell me the Brian Thomas trades that you've seen in your leagues. And there are a bunch of them. A lot of them are multiplayer deals, so it's kind of hard. But 3 running backs that I saw that were traded for Brian Thomas Jr. in the last couple of days, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift, and Cam Scatterbo. I would make all of those deals.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the great thing is there are people who have Brian Thomas who have already decided I can't start him. I have to sit him. So he's sitting on their bench. So if you can provide them anything that they feels like is an upgrade over one of their starters, even if it's a running back who's been as disappointing as Pollard and Swift have been, you can get Thomas, maybe not even need to start him until he's right. But the upside is still a top 12 wide receiver. The downside's a lot scarier than we thought it was 3 weeks ago.
Okay. So I'm assuming you trade Quentin Johnston for him in a heartbeat.
I mean, yeah, I would. Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's Brian Thomas Jr. Your other buy low was Breece Hall. Interesting one here.
So I might even be the low guy on Breece Hall this week, but we talked about this on the Sunday night show. The Jets' upcoming schedule is fantastic. They get the Dolphins this week, and it'll be scary if Breece Hall's not good against the Dolphins, because pretty much anybody who's played against the Dolphins has been good. The Cowboys defense, the run defense has been better than their pass defense, but the Cowboys defense isn't good. The Panthers are on the schedule in the next month. The Bengals are on the schedule before their bye. There's just a lot of good matchup for the Jets offense. And I am really hopeful that Breece Hall, who does have a 17% target share this year, he's second in the pecking order for the Jets. They haven't thrown the ball a whole lot. So he's at 2.5, 3 receptions per game. But the explosive ability is still there. He could have a 150-yard game at any moment. And against the Dolphins seems like a pretty good time.
It's got to be the next 2 weeks, right? Forget about anything past that. If he doesn't do anything against the Dolphins and the Cowboys, I don't want to say it's done, but it's, almost must bench territory. And I think he's going to do great against Dolphins. I mean, he should. Like you said, it's a great matchup. And I think if Tyrod's there, he's going to be a little bit more involved in the passing game because he'll throw the ball a little more. Not more involved. He'll have better production in the passing game because, like you said, he's been involved. He'll have more production in the passing game. But also, I mean, like, this is why you drafted him, was to take advantage of these games. And I just hope that we're not going to lose. Like, he lost a lot of work last week to Braylon Allen. And, that was my concern coming into the year. I hope it's just not how the game unfolded. And Allen actually looked decent.
Yeah, well, I think Tyrod Taylor would help Breece Hall, but I'd have to imagine they're going back to Justin Fields when he's healthy. I know they didn't commit to that.
Have we heard anything about Justin Fields in the concussion protocol?
No.
We probably won't until tomorrow either, because it's their Monday game.
Another Monday doubleheader.
Yeah, I was going to play poker on Monday. I have to cancel.
But at least it's not a 10 p.m. start, right?
Right. Well, I wish it were, because then I could watch one game while I play. Can't watch two. At least I'll save some money. Jamie, your sell highs. Oh no, sorry, we did your buy lows. Let's go to the sell highs real quick, guys. And Heath, you've got two. Oh wait, hold on. Breece Hall, you mentioned the 3 players that guys would trade for Brian Thomas Jr. That you said DeAndre Swift, Cam Scatterboo, and Tony Pollard.
Uh-huh.
Do you like Breece Hall better than all those guys?
I do.
Okay. Do you like Breece Hall better than Brian Thomas Jr.?
I think that depends on what you need.
Would you guys rather have Trey Benson or Breece Hall?
Trey Benson, but I'm the high guy on Trey Benson.
Trey Benson.
All right. Sell high. Heath, you're selling both Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston. How do you see them rest of season?
I see them. I'm probably more optimistic about Keenan Allen for as long as he's able to stay upright than I am Quentin Johnston. And you do have to find someone who's willing to buy into the way the fantasy points have been distributed on the Chargers the first 2 weeks more than I am. But I was looking at our rankings for this week, and all 3 of us still have Ladd McConkey ranked as the number 1 Chargers wide receiver this week. I think that should be
FOMO.
That should be, in my opinion, the expectation for the rest of the season. That Ladd McConkey is going to be the best wide receiver on the Chargers. And if he is, you're not going to get 2 other Chargers that are producing as top 24 wide receivers. You might get one, but if Johnston and Allen stay as close as they have been in targets and McConkey's the best, they're probably both going to be high-end number 3 wide receivers.
You're pretty much, though, buying that Johnston has had a bad career through 2 seasons. We're at least buying the fact that he's, an improved player, going to be a fantasy asset, right?
Yeah, I think we probably sold what he did last year a little bit short.
Yeah, maybe.
Like,
remember when I offered you Quentin Johnston for Isaiah Likely in Dynasty, and you were insulted by it?
I don't know if I was insulted, but I did turn it down. I should have taken that. You were
insulted.
Yeah, you thought it was like.
Although we haven't even seen Isaiah Likely play yet, he could be anything.
True.
He could even be Quentin Johnston.
But it wasn't just what he did at the end of last season. It was everything they did this offseason. I mean, going and drafting 2 receivers and signing Mike Williams, and then when Williams retires, they signed Keenan Allen. Like, it just felt from the outside that they were trying to replace somebody, and it wasn't Ladd McConkey. So kudos to him, man. I know it's very early. Like, he's got to be the best waiver wire addition so far this year, right?
Adam drafted him everywhere.
Yeah, not for me. Just my best late round draft pick. He was shadowed. Quentin Johnston was shadowed by Patrick Surtain, by the way. And he still had a good game. Now, not all of his production. He had a kind of a weird play where Surtain thought he tackled him and Johnston got out of it and ran for maybe another third.
That's the other thing is, at some point, the number of weird plays that Quentin Johnston's had over the last season in 3 games, where the defender just like trips or he gets 15 yards of separation somehow. Like, it might just be that he makes those types of plays.
It might just be that their offense, you have to account for Ladd McConkey, and they have a good offense. They have a great quarterback. He also, against Denver, could have had a 27-yard touchdown, but he tripped over someone's feet, or he would have been open for a touchdown, which of course would have been the result of 2 other guys tripping, and it would have been kind of a weird play. But all right,
I usually just highlight the regular comments, but Thomas, so clever in the private chat. Azer should have taken Johnston round 5 instead of Pacheco.
I should have taken everyone in round 5 of Pacheco. So you're saying Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston are going to be kind of number 3s the rest of the season?
High end number 3s, yes.
High end number 3s.
Jamie's got breaking news.
We need an impromptu fantasy cops. My cousin just texted me for something exactly that we were talking about, just the irony of it. So we're gonna address this on the air.
Impromptu fantasy cops. Here we go.
All right. This is from Alex in Syracuse. Alex in Syracuse says, "Hey Jamie, as a current commissioner of my PPR fantasy league, I'm dealing with a little issue. A trade between two teams was made: CeeDee Lamb for Quinton Judkins and Chris Olave. A lot of the league is in outrage because they think the guy getting CeeDee is completely ripping the other guy off. What do you think about this trade?"
I'm fine with it, guys. I mean, I would rather have Lamb, but if you need to win right now, you're getting two guys you can start. You're getting the guy who leads the NFL in targets in Olave.
Jamie, would you rather have Quinton Judkins and Chris Olave or Quentin Johnston rest of the season?
I'd rather have Quinton Judkins and Chris Olave.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think it's a fine trade. I mean, I think the guy who got Lamb, hopefully, like there's still the other thing we didn't really talk about is there is a chance that Lamb comes back too soon and plays for 5 weeks and isn't CeeDee Lamb.
100%. Yeah. There's some risk here. It's not, it's a high ankle sprain. Those suck. I feel like it's probably not the most severe high ankle sprain because he felt like he could come back next week, but that's just me speculating.
I still feel like he should have had a walking boot on the sideline if he had to be on the sideline on Sunday.
I mean, the fact that he tried to go back in after initially getting hurt, to me, was a positive. We don't know how much it is bothering him clearly after the fact. And I thought when he first came out, he's going to go get, shot and then come back in and see if he can play. And that wasn't the case. So hopefully it is just a 2 or 3 week thing. And the examples you brought up, Adam, obviously running backs different than wide receivers, but let's hope that CeeDee Lamb is good to go. And again, I hope the Cowboys can not necessarily just completely fall out of playoff contention because they're going to lose this week, and then we'll see what happens moving forward.
Try to find some wide receivers who had high ankle sprains, but I know that the AI answer is going to be wrong. It's probably going to be like, oh, Saquon Barkley is a wide receiver who had a high ankle sprain. Jamie's sell highs are Ricky Pearsall coming off he's got 200-yard games in 3 games so far this year, and Trey Benson. Go ahead.
In the case of Pearsall, you've talked about this, and I completely agree. We're going to get George Kittle back. We're going to get Brandon Ayuk at some point. We're going to get Juwan Jennings healthy. And so he could still be the best receiver for the 49ers. He could still have a lot of great games. But this is most likely as good as it gets, especially when you look at the top number, if you're watching us on YouTube, 8 targets a game. Like, that's going to most likely come down. So if you could just maximize his value, like turn Ricky Pearsall into CeeDee Lamb, I think that's a very doable trade for somebody that needs a wide receiver right now. And hopefully he gets at least another 3-4 week window of being the guy. Certainly 1 more week without George Kittle. We don't know when Jennings will return, and we don't expect Ayuk to return until week 6. So there's still a good window here of Ricky Pearsall being the featured guy, but just this might be as best as it gets. And the same thing for Trey Benson. Now, I agree with Heath. He's got a great opportunity here to be fantastic, but he's never done this before. And so will he be able to hold up and be the lead guy and produce at least like what James Conner does? So if you can turn him into something amazing right now, you should be shopping him, especially if he's just been somebody sitting on your bench and you don't need him. Now, if you handcuff Conner and Benson, clearly you're going to rely on Benson. If you have Benson and you need a running back or a flex, you're going to rely on Benson. But it could be awful. It could be absolutely terrible. We could be looking at another running back that just gets a lot of touches and doesn't, live up to the expectations and the potential. So if somebody is really enamored with Trey Benson and willing to give you something great in return, do it.
Yeah, I am. Well, no, I'm not enamored, but here's the thing. In our 14-team league, might be different in a 12-team league, certainly in a 10-team league, I lost James Conner. I've got nothing. I'm going to have to start Chris Rodriguez this week. So I offered the Trey Benson manager, Ladd McConkey, for Trey Benson, and he said he wants to see how this week plays out before he trades Trey Benson. But the thing is, I know What'd you say?
Could be a big mistake.
It could be. I'd be willing to lose the trade because the replacement that I could find at wide receiver is going to be so much better than the replacement I could find at running back. It's just there's nothing on waivers at running back.
I think the really interesting thing that we will see this week is how much does the RB2 get in Arizona, because this was trending towards more of a split than there has been when James Conner's been there. And I'm kind of expecting Benson to handle the majority of the work. I've got him at a 60% rush share, which Kyler takes 20, and then a 13% target share. And if he has those two numbers and he's anywhere close to as good as he's been on limited work early in his career, then he might have a chance to be a top 12 running back. But if Amari DeMarcado is now going to handle a lot more passing down work because Benson's getting a lot more carries, then he could be a bust.
Amari DeMarcado is going to be the third down back, I think. That's my guess. I don't know that, so let me just see if James Conner.
I will say, like, that last year, it was really frustrating because Benson was sharing early downs with Conner and DeMarcado was playing a lot more on passing downs. So far this year, Amari DeMarcado has 2 touches and 1 target for 0 yards. His snap share went up a little bit in the last game, but last year his snap share was over 20% in like half the games they played. And this year it's 1.8% in one game and 10.6 in the game that Conner got hurt.
So, all right, I'll give you one more encouraging thing. I think encouraging for Benson. James Conner has 9 targets this year, 8 catches in 2.5 games. Does not have a single target on third down. So I think Benson could still be a 3 catch per game guy, even if he doesn't have any third down targets. So that would be good. That's my assessment, but that would be good. All right. So I think Trey Benson is someone we need to spend a little more time on because he is going to be traded. He's one of the most traded players. Would you rather have him or the number 1 most traded player, J.K. Dobbins?
Benson.
Travis Etienne or Trey Benson?
Benson.
Javonte Williams or Trey Benson?
That's a great one. They're very similar just in terms of what the workload could be. I'll probably go Javonte just because I've seen it.
Marvin Harrison Jr. or Trey Benson?
Benson.
Drake London or Benson?
London.
I think that depends on what position you need.
Okay. All right. Hopefully that gives you an idea of where we are on Trey Benson. All right, we're going to save the worryometer for a little bit later. Let's preview Thursday Night Football, Seattle at Arizona. Dave? Nah. All right, I got a lot of stats for you. Stat of the game number 1. I know if Jamie laughs, it was legitimately funny. He's a tough critic of mine. Not a tough critic. He holds me to a high standard.
I do. Hold you to a high standard.
Yeah. Seattle at Arizona.
You didn't get my 6'7" joke yesterday. Keith would have got it.
What was the joke?
I'm not telling you. You have to figure it out for yourself.
Everybody
who knows it liked it.
Someone wrote in about it, and I was like, wait, what was the joke? I don't even get it. And he didn't respond.
You said, well, you're going to say it again. Talk about Kyler Murray.
I will eventually. Okay. So stat of the game number 1, Sam Darnold is PFF's number 1 passer through 3 games. And he's 3rd in yards per attempt. And so far this year, the Cardinals are seeing an average of 47.3 quarterback pass attempts per game, most in the NFL. So that'd be cool if we could get that kind of volume. Stat of the game number 2, look at these 2 teams. They haven't played each other yet. They've only played 3 games, but they've actually played 2 common opponents. And Seattle is 5th in points per game and 9th in yards per play. Arizona is 23rd in points per game and 24th in yards per play. Seattle's just been so much better offensively than Arizona. And stat of the game number 3 is that both Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride have seen a pretty considerable drop in their target per route run rate just for 3 games this year compared to a full season last year. Called this a trend to watch instead of a concern, but especially with Marvin Harrison Jr., his target per route run rate is something like 16%. It's just way too low.
Is Kyler's scramble rate up?
Well, his rushing is up. So his rushing is up.
Let me look at his scramble rate from this year versus last year, because if he's dropping back and they're running routes and then he's taking off.
He's averaging 2 more carries per game this year than he did last year.
His scramble rate this year is 30.6%, which is 4th in the NFL. And I'll see what it was last year.
Okay. All right. So anyway, Sam Darnold playing very well. Does anybody want to start him? He hasn't scored 21 fantasy points yet in a game, but that's largely because of pass attempts. Does anybody want to start him this week?
There's a handful of quarterbacks that are very intriguing this week, and he is in that group with Tua Tagovailoa with his matchup against the Jets, Tyrod Taylor, assuming he starts with his matchup against the Dolphins, Bryce Young with his matchup against the Patriots. Like there's just these guys that you could see a path to success. I know for me in a few leagues where I don't have Joe Burrow anymore and streaming the position, like I'm waiting out Mariota, and almost in every league, those guys are the fallback options.
Okay. So even without McLaurin, you're going to take Mariota over Darnold.
I would, yes, just based on his running ability.
And I think, like, what was that number you said for Arizona in terms of pass attempts?
I had it at 47. Am I crazy?
No, but
one of those was a 55 pass attempt game from Bryce Young.
Yeah.
But it's remarkable because Sam Darnold is averaging 24.7 pass attempts per game.
Right.
He threw 23 passes in a loss in week 1, 18 passes against the Saints last week for obvious reasons. But I think that's the problem and we kind of expected this when they made the offensive coordinator change, that they were going to go more run heavy.
Yeah.
You can be really, really efficient, but if you're throwing kind of like the Vikings so far, if you're throwing 25 passes a game, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so forget about him. I understand he's a low-end starter, but he is playing well. I just wanted to point that out.
Yep.
And every quarterback against the Cardinals so far has thrown 41 or more passes. So it's Ken Walker versus Zach Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet's been listed as a full participant. So I'm sure everyone will start Ken Walker, even though he had an inefficient day, if Charbonnet's out. That's an easy one. If Charbonnet's in, Heath, what are we doing with the Seahawks running backs against the Cardinals, who have been pretty good in terms of yards per carry, but they are giving up a lot of fantasy points to running backs?
So I was looking at the rankings this morning just to see kind of where we had guys. And I think, like, we haven't ranked Charbonnet yet, but I think Dave may be ranking Walker as if Charbonnet is going to play, because he has him at RB22. Jamie and I have him top 10. If we get the injury report today and Zach Charbonnet's off the injury report or definitely going to play, I think Jamie and I will probably have Walker right around RB22. A low end RB2 that you would start, in my opinion, I would start Trey Benson over him. I would start Amari and Hampton obviously over him. Now these are all Jordan Mason obviously over him.
Scadaboo?
I've got Scadaboo higher than everybody else, so I would probably have him over him, but he'd be, I think, for Dave and Jamie, right in the same range.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Starter sit Cooper Kupp. Obviously, we're going to start JSN. Jamie, how do we feel about Cooper Kupp?
Low end number 3 receiver at best. I think just, do we know the status of the Cardinals secondary? Are they healthier?
So Will Johnston did not practice, and they had a few. I think they're pretty beat up still, I think.
Yeah. So there's a chance here, and the hope would be is that this game gets a little loose and that we're seeing a few more attempts for Darnold and everybody benefits. But I think the fact that Torrey Horton is performing like he has been, and obviously JSN is commanding as many targets as he has been, understandably so, that it's difficult to say Cooper Kupp is anything close to a must-start receiver. So desperation number 3 receiver in my mind.
I think the key is whether the quarterback history against Arizona is true or Sam Darnold's true, because the one good game that Cooper Kupp has had is the one time that Sam Darnold threw more than 23 passes. If he's throwing 23 passes and 10 of them are going to JSN, nobody else is going to be good.
Right. Yeah. Cooper Kupp, right. That one game against Pittsburgh, 7 catches for 90 yards on 9 targets. Sam Darnold threw 33 passes, as he mentioned. Would you start Cooper Kupp or Io Manor, Trey Tucker?
The other 2 guys.
I've got it Tucker, Kupp, Io Manor.
Okay. Someone's asking in the chat, Kupp or Diggs?
Kupp.
Okay. Over to the Cardinals. Starter sit Kyler Murray.
I would sit him.
I want to sit him as well.
Yeah, I feel like most people are going to be sitting Kyler Murray. He just hasn't had that big. He could have had a pretty big game last week. Okay, you had Marvin Harrison dropping what probably should have been a 50-yard catch. You had Amari DiMercato dropping a possible touchdown, and they settled for a field goal. And then you had Harrison dropping a touchdown. So a lot of points left off the board for the Cardinals last week. But I understand.
He just throws it to the only guy who catches touchdowns for that team.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so far, Brock Purdy scored 21 points, and Aaron Rodgers and Spencer Rattler were terrible against Seattle. They've been just a very good team, Seattle. I'm interested to watch a full game, see what they're all about. All right, so here we go. Trey Benson, where do you guys have him ranked, Jamie?
Trey Benson is around like 17, 18.
Heath?
I have Trey Benson at 15.
Why not higher? Not that that's so bad, but Why not higher?
It's a good week for running backs, actually. That's part of it. I want to see what he does in a full, week's worth of work. I have him as a start and sit him. So I'm telling people to start him. I think the fact that he's given you 8.1 PPR points or more in 3 straight games, most of that sharing with James Conner, is an encouraging sign. What he's done in the passing game is an encouraging sign. Like you mentioned, does he lose that role because of what he's going to do as the lead rusher? But I think in the case of this matchup and his opportunity, it's worth trusting him to see how he performs this week.
The Seahawks have given up 3.16 yards per rushing to running backs this year, and they have not allowed a running back to score a touchdown against them yet.
Longest running back carry against the Seahawks. They've faced McCaffrey, Warren, and Kamara. The longest carry is 13 yards. Their run defense has been really good. And if you're someone who buys into Trey Benson, and maybe you made an offer for Trey Benson and the manager said, I want to see how he does this week, he might not do that well this week. This is a really, really good run defense. However, so far they are giving up the most receiving yards to running backs, but they also faced Christian McCaffrey and Jalen Warren and then actually held Alvin Kamara to 1 catch for 14 yards. But this is a
tough. Did they hold him to that, or did the Saints hold him to that?
Whatever it is. I mean, McCaffrey had 9 catches for 73 yards. Warren had 4 for 86. Kamara had 1 for 14. But Seattle,
so all of them had a good average.
Yes.
They were all very good on a per catch basis.
All right, we're going to start McBride. So let's get to the tricky one, Marvin Harrison Jr. He's had 5 to 6 targets in 3 straight games. They haven't really thrown the ball that much, but 5 to 6 targets in 3 straight games. As I mentioned, target per route run rate for Marvin Harrison Jr. 16.7%. That is not good enough, and missed out on big opportunities last week. I just always wonder if we could play a hypothetical game. His start percentage is going to be X this week, but if he had caught those 2 balls last week, maybe it would be 30% higher, but Heath starter sit Marvin Harrison Jr.
One of the positions the Seahawks have been better against than running backs?
Is it receivers?
Wide receivers. Second best team against wide receivers. I think so far, and I get this question for Dynasty, and I'm not ready to say this for Dynasty yet because I'm hopeful there's a bright future ahead for Marvin Harrison. But so far, he is what he is and what he has been. He is the quintessential boom bust number 3 wide receiver. He might finish as a top 12 guy with a long touchdown, and he might finish as an outside the top 40 guy. I've got him, I think, at 28 or 29 right now. Really struggling between him and DK Metcalf.
Against the Vikings? Well, we got a lot to say about DK Metcalf on the worryometer.
I don't like DK Metcalf this week. This is about the lowest I've had him ranked, but there's no reason to think that Marvin Harrison has a higher floor.
Would you start kind of a safe guy like Chris Olave or Marvin Harrison?
I would start Chris Olave in full PPR. In non, I would go. I think there's the biggest split right now at wide receiver between full PPR and non is Chris Olave. There have been 8 instances this year where a wide receiver had 10 targets and didn't reach 60 yards or score a touchdown. 3 of the 8 are Chris Olave.
Questions from the chat: Marvin Harrison Jr. or Chase Brown?
I'm going to go with Chase Brown.
Marvin Harrison Jr., Io Manor or JMO? Pick 2.
So Marvin Harrison Jr. and I might go Io Manor.
I probably would take the guys I drafted in the 5th or 6th round or whatever it is. Marvin Harrison.
JMO, as much as anybody on that Detroit team, worries me against the Browns because I don't know how they're going to have enough time to get him deep.
It only takes 1 play, I think.
It does.
Right? Yeah. No, the Browns obviously are incredible. The Seahawks actually have allowed 9 completions of 20 or more yards, which is a lot at this point, but only 4 of them were to wide receivers, and 3 of them were to Ricky Pearsall. They are also getting healthier in their secondary. Well, we'll see. We have to check their practice report because they had 3 guys who missed last week's game starting in their secondary, and they were listed as limited yesterday. So that's definitely something to watch. Start McBride. Do you like the Seahawks DST, the number 1 DST so far?
I need take a look at my DST rankings. I think they are a start.
Start them over the Rams?
I do have them ahead of the Rams.
ahead of the Eagles at the Bucks?
I have the Eagles ahead of both of them.
All right. All right, we're going to take a break. By the way, Jamie just stepped out briefly, if you're wondering why I haven't been including him. We'll take a break and do the worryometer when we come back on Fantasy Football Today.
Critics are buzzing about the new season of Yellow Jackets.
This is not healthy.
Yellow Jackets' new season now streaming on the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan.
Oh, Heath, everybody's so worried all the time, you know?
I last week I would have agreed with you. Like 2 weeks. What's 2 weeks?
Yeah.
2 weeks. Okay. I'm worried.
But you know what? That's a good point because you talked about Brian Thomas Jr. and I so badly want to buy in. I want to buy low on Brian Thomas Jr. I've been able to find wide receivers who have had 2 bad weeks to start the season. Jamar Chase, each of the last 2 seasons, 23 and 24, had 2 bad weeks to start the season. It's kind of hard to find a guy who finished great and started the season with 3 bad weeks, other than rookies, maybe. That could happen. Maybe Cortland Sutton. But when you talk about guys who are off the slow starts like Drake London and Brian Thomas Jr., 3 weeks is a reason for alarm, especially with Brian Thomas Jr. because he has the wrist injury. But I'm not going to dispute the buy low. I mean, the 28% catch rate certainly is a great case. But anyway, worryometer is Jamie's back. I was a little worried about Jamie there. You okay? 0 to 10 on the worryometer? All right, 0. Worryometer from Good Ecosystem on Twitter. How about, he has 4 names here. We talked about Brian Thomas Jr. So just give me numbers for Ladd McConkey, 0 to 10.
2.
I think I said 0 last week. I'll go up to 3 now.
Chase Brown.
4.
7.
Ashton Genty.
2.
3.
Okay, this one is from J Mo Money. He says, worryometer on Zay Flowers. Did I miss my sell window?
0 on the worryometer, and you probably missed your window to maximize his value, but you can still sell him, and hopefully somebody, again, you could turn Zay Flowers into CeeDee Lamb, and I would do that.
Yeah. I would take Zay Flowers for CeeDee Lamb if you just offered that to me. That would be fantastic in the Super Flex League. Whoever has Zay Flowers, would be really, really happy with that offer. I was just looking. So last year, Zay Flowers has had some success against the Chiefs. Last week was disappointing. I'm not worried at all.
I mean, I'm not worried about Zay Flowers. I went and I watched all of his routes, and Carlton Davis was on him for much of the game. And Carlton Davis, in my opinion, committed up to 5 illegal contact penalties that were not called. I'm dead serious. He was all over him because he couldn't really keep up with him. Zay Flowers is really hard to guard. I mean, remember last year, people might have been worried about him against Denver. You can't really shadow Zay Flowers. It surprised me that they did, and he destroyed Denver last year. So, but even they're 1-2, and they haven't even hit 30 pass attempts yet. Lamar Jackson's playing out of his mind.
Well, and the way they lose games too. Like one of the games they lost, they were up by 14 in the fourth quarter.
Right, the Bills game, yeah.
And then, like they're kind of 1-0, and Derrick Henry's 0-2.
But there are going to be games just on a team with this much. In fact, you know what's interesting? What's the stat I always give? It's very hard to finish top 12 per game or top 12 overall on a team that's bottom 5 in pass attempts, right? Let me look up who's bottom 5 in pass attempts, but I'm pretty sure it's Baltimore, Philadelphia, Minnesota, and Seattle are bottom 5. And on those teams, you have guys that we're all hoping can finish top 12. Obviously, you have Jefferson. You have JSN, who's been amazing. You have Zay Flowers. What was the other team I said? Philadelphia. You have A.J. Brown. So, right, if you can get top 12 value for Flowers, do you do it?
Yes. I mean, and look, depending on how you feel about Drake London and I guess Brian Thomas Jr. still.
That's the funny thing is, like, I don't know that any position has been weirder than wide receiver the first 3 weeks. like figuring out what is top 12 value in terms of a wide receiver, assuming you don't think Zay Flowers is.
Can I tell you a wide receiver that I think, for me, guy I did not draft at all. I was nervous about him, especially with the Matthew Stafford injury. I think is not just top 12, but I think you could really consider him as a round 1 pick, is Devontae Adams. They throw to 2 guys on that team. It's still the issue of Matthew Stafford's back and if he can hold up. But I don't know why.
Were you panicking watching that last week
when he got crunched?
He was limping around a little bit.
Yeah, right, consider that. But man, Devontae Adams looks damn good right now.
He does, but he also has 56 and 51 yards in 2 of his 3 games.
I know he's been so close. What was the first game? The first game he got shadowed by Stingley.
And I think he has 5 targets inside the 5-yard line and 0 catches.
There's no way I would take him in the first round. I'm sorry.
No, I wouldn't either. But like the guys who are right at, I mean, not even talking about Brian Thomas, but Drake London was right at the wide receiver 12 range. T. Higgins was right at the wide receiver 12 range. Lad McConkey was right at the wide receiver 12, like 12, 13, 14. Tyreek Hill was right behind those guys. Like it's hard to make it. What's that?
So is JSN.
Yeah, JSN's clearly in it. AJ Brown has had 1 good game. He was right around, because of the injury, that top 12 range. Figuring out which of those guys you would take over Zay Flowers.
Well, this is what you have to do. I mean, you have to, our job is to project that, and you're making trades. You have to buy into, will those guys bounce back to the level of what they either were last year or have the potential to be once again this year? I think an interesting trade would be, would you trade Zay Flowers for Rashee Rice right now if you're not starting Flowers?
Yeah,
I don't have any teams where I'm not starting Flowers. That would be quite a luxury. I probably would not trade Zay Flowers for Rashee Rice.
Would you trade Zay Flowers for Trey Benson?
Maybe if I needed the position.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I think I'd rather have Flowers than Benson, but
right.
I would make the trade if I needed the running back. It's just the position is so thin on the waiver wire. So to answer the question, I think there's no way I'd take T. Higgins over Zay Flowers at this point, right? I mean, that's an easy one.
Right.
But the other guys are pretty close. I mean, I would obviously take Adams over Flowers, but
I'm pretty concerned. Like, I've got Drake London and Brian Thomas Jr. back-to-back this week.
Mm-hmm.
The fact, like, I don't know that Michael Penix, he has a 2% touchdown rate so far early in his career, which was something I was pretty concerned about, was him in the red zone. And they're not playing Drake London in the slot as much as they did last year.
Kirk. Adam, keep wearing your Star Trek shirt every day until they start Kirk Cousins.
All right, let's go to our next worryometer. It's David Granger. He says Bo Nix and Kyler Murray. Bo Nix.
I mean, this is a big week for Nix.
Huge.
Can't do anything against the Bengals, and we really have a problem. He missed a lot of easy throws last week. I shouldn't say easy throws. He missed a lot of wide open players last week. I don't think there's a lot of easy throws in the NFL from my perspective. So, if he hits those touchdowns, one of the 2 to Marvin Mims, the one to, Cortland Sutton, we may be having a different feeling about him this week. But again, great matchup. Kyler's a different story. I think he's going to struggle against Seattle. He's not connecting with Marvin Harrison. That's clearly what was the part of the appeal, at least, to him, is that connection would be better. And so he was drafted as a low-end starter. You're seeing guys emerge: Daniel Jones, Justin Herbert, Drake May, who was drafted after him, I think. Caleb Williams, obviously. They're guys that are easy replacements for Kyler. I know I have Kyler in 1 league, and I'm starting Geno Smith over him this week. That just kind of tells you, I think, where he's at.
There are 3 quarterbacks so far this season that have a catchable attempt rate of 79 or 80%. They're the bottom 3 quarterbacks in catchable targets: Cam Ward, Bo Nix, Russell Wilson.
Right. So I read today that there's an article about Bo Nix on ESPN, I believe. The writer said that teams are taking away the short stuff for Bo Nix. He's still doing it a lot, right? He's still among the leaders in the NFL in pass attempts, third in pass attempts that are behind the line of scrimmage. He's not having quite as much success on those throws this year as he had last year. This year, 3.9 yards per attempt on those throws. Last year, 4.6 yards per attempt. He's still going to do that a ton. But they are trying to take it away, I guess. He's got to hit on these deep balls. You mentioned the missed opportunities, Jamie. I counted, I would say it was about 15 to 16 fantasy points that he could have easily had in deep balls last game, Bo Nix. And they were just missed. So close. He's running about the same as yards per carry is down, but that could easily come back. He's running a little bit more per game, actually, than he did last year. 6.3 rush attempts per game compared to 5.4. So I don't know. We're pretty close to him having just one bad game against Tennessee in week 1. It's not pretty with Bo Nix. He's not going to be the most on-time quarterback, I think, but he could make crazy plays. You see that play he made against the Colts? Scrambling, rolling to his left, throwing downfield for like a long play to Troy Franklin. He's very good at improv. Anyway,
he was great against the Bengals last year in week 17. He's been great at home. So these are two easy landing spots for him to have a bounce back game. And, if you watched the game last week, he was on the sideline saying, I missed on those plays, so he's self-aware.
Yeah. All right.
Adam, just to your point, his intended air yard per pass attempt is actually down from last year. 7.3 last year, 6.6 this year.
Right. He is taking deep shots though. Sometimes but there are so many throws at the line of scrimmage. All right. Anyway, I think we're more worried about Kyler than Nix, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Heath's not sure.
No, I think I'm equally worried about. I'll put them both at a 5. I think we're more optimistic about Nix this week because he gets the Bengals. If they're both bad this week, I'll be more worried about Nix than Murray.
All right. Derek says Chase Brown and Jamar Chase. So we know we're worried about Chase Brown. Are we worried about Jamar Chase? 0 to 10 on the worryometer for Chase, who had 5 catches for 50 yards and a fumble last week.
Look, you have to be worried anytime you lose a quarterback. So, that's the starting point. And then you saw the first game and it wasn't good. Fumble wasn't ideal either. This is not going to be an easy week against the Broncos. You're not sitting Jamar Chase, but, I don't know where you have him ranked, Heath. He's in the teens for me, just based on everything, the totality of it. I'd be buying low if someone is selling, so if you could turn Zay Flowers into Jamar Chase, I'd do that. If you could turn, I'm trying to think of anybody else that's kind of come out of nowhere, Ricky Pearsall or Emeka Buka. No Jamar Chase manager should be doing that, but you never know. So any low ball offer you can make to get Jamar Chase, you should be doing it, especially if the Chase manager is struggling.
Now I got a trade offer in the chat. Jamar Chase and DeAndre Swift for Nico Collins and Ken Walker.
I'd rather have Collins and Walker side just because I think Walker's in a better spot than Swift is.
I don't think I'd do that deal because I'm afraid when Charbonnet's there, Ken Walker and Swift might be too close. The one thing,
the Zach Charbonnet to DeAndre Swift, though, which is something we didn't expect. Can we orchestrate a Jameis Winston to Cincinnati trade?
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Jake Browning turns the ball over too much, so I don't think get
Jameis Winston. That'll fix it.
Is necessarily the answer there, but I don't know that they can stick with him. He's just
it's one game against Brian Flores. That's
right.
But he was turnover prone last year. He threw an interception per game
last year. He played last year. 2023, he was 4-3 as a starter, and
he threw an interception per game. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. It's not great. He still won more games than he lost, and
I don't think they have somebody that's going to protect the football and be good at generating yards. The one thing that might put me at a 1 on Chase as opposed to a 0, that's something to watch, is so far like 35% of Jake Browning's passes have gone to tight ends. Wow. I don't know why, but through the touchdown to Drew Sample, Noah Fant, I think, has a higher target share from him than T. Higgins does. Like, they've just been peppering tight ends the last week and a half with targets.
And let's be fair. He played the majority of the game against Jacksonville, and Jamar Chase was a monster.
Yep.
Yes, but his next 3 matchups are Denver, Detroit, and Green Bay. They've got some tough defenses coming up. So would you put Jamar Chase in your first round if you were drafting today?
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, Sonny is worried about Tyler Warren and DK Metcalf. 0 to 10 for Warren, 0 to 10 for Metcalf.
0 for Warren.
Yep.
1 for Metcalf. I don't know. Why are we worried about Metcalf?
I'm worried about Metcalf this week.
Yeah.
But rest of season, I think he's a borderline wide receiver too.
I'll tell you why you could be worried about DK Metcalf. First of all, he hasn't scored more than 12.3 PPR fantasy points yet. Aaron Rodgers is just not good. And do you think DK Metcalf should have a 6.3 yard ADOT? That is basically half of his normal ADOT. And I would dismiss it as a 3-game sample size. I think it will go up, but Aaron Rodgers has the lowest ADOT in the NFL. And I think he'd probably be the favorite to have the lowest ADOT in the NFL going forward. It's all he does. It was a bunch of garbage like that last year. He threw so many times with the Jets that Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson were able to just PPR their way to fantasy points. I don't think he's going to do that with the Steelers. So you have all these short area targets. You have nothing deep for DK Metcalf. And, he has been shadowed twice in 3 games. He was shadowed by Sauce Gardner and Carlton Davis, and those guys did a good job. But we're looking at 52 yards on 10 targets over his last 2 games. And a quarterback, I just like Aaron Rodgers is not good. And DK Metcalf is the kind of guy who should be going downfield more. He should not have a 6.3 yard ADOT. So that would be my concern.
I don't think you're wrong. I just think you're getting sort of the production you drafted him for.
I mean, only because he scored 2 touchdowns, which is what you drafted him for. He's going to get those end zone targets. Would you buy low on DK Metcalf?
No.
It's just kind of is what he is.
I think he is just what he is. Yeah.
Okay. All right. From AJ Warped, worryometer on DJ Moore.
9.
I was going to say 6.
Yeah, but it's worrisome. Man, he's got a 15.7% target per route run rate. His previous career low, other than his rookie year, was 21.1%. He has as many targets as Olamide Zaccheaus. DJ Moore does. Rome Odunze is getting so many targets and only 1 red zone target for DJ Moore. Rome Odunze has 4. So this one is definitely, if we were drafting again, this is a guy.
1 for 1 though.
Is he? The touchdown? Where was the touchdown from? Was that a red zone touchdown? Can't remember. Yeah, it was late in the game last week.
Well, he only had 21 receiving yards in that game, so pretty much had to be.
So DJ Moore, I think, is a guy for sure. If we were drafting again, he'd be going several rounds later. Probably would be swapped with Odunze. Oh no, Odunze.
And he might be. I think there's some comments in the chat. He might be on a different team.
You think he'll get traded
if they get comfortable with Luther Burden?
So Metcalf or Moore rest of season? Easy Metcalf.
I was drafting it that way, so I'm going to stick with it.
I'll stick with it, but I wouldn't say it's not a high degree of certainty.
Would you trade Quentin Johnston or Keenan Allen for DJ Moore?
I would rather have Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston than DJ Moore.
I would not make that trade. I would trade DJ Moore for Keenan Allen. I don't think I would trade Johnston or Moore for each other.
This is another guy with this, like Jamison Williams, this average route depth. He's got one of the highest average route depths in the NFL. It's just very weird for DJ Moore. Not really his game. Way higher than normal. Okay.
Now, I say that this could easily be a breakout game for him. I mean, The Raiders are bad.
It's the Raiders, then a bye, then Washington, then New Orleans, then Baltimore, then Cincinnati, then the Giants. This is not a bad schedule coming up for the Chicago Bears. I think we're going to end it there. Thank you very much, everybody, for your questions and your comments. I'm sorry we didn't get to everything I wanted to get to, but hopefully you're ready to make some trade offers. And hopefully if you're Heath, you're ready to just accept facts and accept the trade. You're not getting anything better than Quentin Johnston for CeeDee Lamb. It's been long enough. Just go ahead and accept that.
Are you kidding me?
What? What'd I do?
Oh, Jamie just fleeced somebody in one of our dynasty leagues when he already had the best team in the league.
What'd I do?
Chuba Hubbard traded for Caleb Johnson in a dynasty league.
That's a first-round pick.
You traded. You got
at one
Chuba?
point.
Yeah, Caleb Johnson's not having a very good rookie year, is he? All right, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
I will say I didn't want to bring this up, but because I knew that Heath would then maybe try to make a trade offer, I made the offer to Dave also, because Dave said to me yesterday that he lost Mike Evans and Terry McLaurin. So he said, "Are you looking to buy in YOLO?" And I said, "I'm not sure." So I offered him Caleb Johnston for Jordan Mason. Now Dave is 2-1 in this league. I traded with Will, who's 0-3. So Dave presumably laughed at me. But the way that he laughed at me said, "Hey, is everything okay? I think Azer hacked your account."
He would say something like that.
I offered, I made an offer in that league too, but it was the one that spurred me to go on my little rant earlier. Send a counter offer, Nick.
Now this is going to make me go on a rant. Somebody saying veto that trade. Absolutely not.
That's a first round pick in Dynasty for a guy that is probably what would you trade for Chuba Hubbard now? Draft picks. Second round pick?
Yeah, I wouldn't give more than a second for him, although I certainly wouldn't give more than a second for Caleb Johnston either.
It's only 3 games into Caleb Johnston's career. I know it's not looking great, but it's not a vetoable trade. Come on, folks.
This is the second year in a row I've traded my first round pick for a veteran. We'll see how this one works out. Last one was not so great.
What was it?
Ricky Pearsall for Stephon Diggs. Pearsall was not playing at the time. Diggs was awesome.
Yeah, I'd rather have Pearsall. Okay, we'll talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today. See you, everybody.